Good day, everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are looking at change of subject of formula. Now we are going to see how we change the subject of any formula. Like this example on the board. A is the subject of the formula here, but we want x to be the subject of the formula. That is why we are asked to make x the subject of a formula. How do we do that? We are solving for s in this case, so we take them step by step. Now let's go. Here first, what we do here first is to open our brackets. Now let's open the brackets. We are going to be having A equals B times 1, B times minus x, we get minus bx. Now here, if we look at what we are making the subject of formula, we want it to stand alone. So we'll be removing those terms with it one after the other. The first one that we can remove here is this b here. So we want this 1 to be alone. So we are going to be moving this minus bx down to this side so that it will change to plus. And we are bringing this a down to this side. Now if we do that, we are going to be having minus bx going to this side to give us bx. Then b is already on the right hand side, b. Then if a comes here, it gives us minus a. We have removed one of the terms that is with the x, remaining just the b. Now for us to remove the b, because this is times b times x, we are going to be dividing by the coefficient of the x. Anytime it is times, you divide. So if you divide both sides by b, we'll be having bx over b minus a over b. We have divided both sides by b. So here now, the b goes, remaining only x here. So our final answer will be x equals b minus a all over b. Now in this case, we have made s the subject of a formula. That is how we solve this. Now let's look at another example. Now, in this second example, we are asked to make k the subject of a formula. At times, the question can be asked that in terms of k, find t, h, g in terms of k. Whenever the question is asked that way too, in terms of k, that means we are making k the subject of a formula. Now, let's see how we make k the subject of formula here. Now, if you look at the equation, this is where k is. So we start removing the terms one after the other. Now, the first one that can be removed here is this 2 pi. We can divide both sides by 2 pi so that this 2 pi cancels. So we are going to be having t over 2 pi equals square root of plus k squared all over gh. Now, what did we do here? We divided both sides by 2 pi. Now, if you divided both sides by 2 pi, you'll be left with this. Now, the k that we are making the subject of formula is inside the square root. It's as if it's inside the prism. Before we can bring it out, we have to remove this square root. Now, for us to remove the square root, we are going to be squaring both sides. Anytime you want to remove a square root, you take the square of it. The square root and the square will cancel. And anytime you want to remove a square, you take the square root too. So square root and square goes together. Now let's square both sides. If you square both sides, we're having t all over 2 pi square. If you square this side, the square will go. So you'll be having square root over dh, everything raised to power 2. So we have square both sides. The square cancels this. So we'll be left with t squared over 2 raised to power 2. We got t squared from t raised to power 2 is t squared, 2 raised to power 2 is 4, and pi raised to power 2 is pi squared. Now in this other side, we'll be having h squared plus k squared all over gh. That is what we'll be having from there. Now, what do we do next? We can remove this one in the denominator first. And how do we do it? We cross multiply this and this together, so that we'll be left with this. So that in that case, we'll be having t squared gh all over 4 pi squared equals a squared plus k squared. Now you can see the times with the k is reducing little by little. And another thing we can do here is to remove this a squared, because it's positive here. We'll take it to the other side so that it will become negative, so that we'll be left with this k squared here. So if we do that, we'll be having t squared gh over 4 pi squared minus h squared equals k squared. Now we want to make k the subject of formula, but we have succeeded making k squared the subject of formula. Remember, I said the other time, to remove a square, we take the square root. Now we are going to take the square root of both sides. Now if we do that, we have a k equals square root of everything on the left hand side, t squared gh over 4 pi squared minus 8 squared. Everything inside is square root. Now, this is how to make k the subject of formula. I hope you do understand this. Let's take another example for better understanding. Those times with x one after the other. The first one that can be removed here is this half. We can cross multiply this. So if you multiply both sides by 2, you'll be having 2b equals square root of a squared minus s squared. We multiply both sides by 2. Now, if you also want to remove the square root, because this x that we want to make the subject is inside a prism, inside the square root. So first, we remove the square root by squaring both sides. If we square both sides, so you'll be having 2b raised to power 2 equals square root of a squared minus s squared raised to power 2. So that the square will cancel the square root. You now be left with this one raised to power 2 is 4. B raised to power 2 is b squared. A squared minus s squared. Now if you look at the x that you want to make the subject, it's having a negative sign here. So to avoid the negative, we are going to be taking this minus s to the other side. So that will give us s squared equals a squared that is already here before. Then this one is coming over to this side, minus 4b squared. Yes, you can see we are already there now. Because of the square that you are seeing there, that means we are going to be taking the square roots of both sides. If you take square root of both sides, you have x to be equals to square root of a squared minus 4b squared. So this is how you make x the subject of the formula. With these 3 examples, I hope you understand how to make subject of formula, and I hope this will go a long way in helping you as you solve mathematics in your daily life. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in my comment section, and subscribe to my channel, like, and I'll see you in my next video. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.